So if you're thinking about moving to Atlanta and you want to make the best decision possible when it comes to your real estate needs, then you're going to want to stick around. Today we're going to talk about the real estate market, not just nationally, but locally, because real estate is hyper local. Last month we talked a little bit about what was going on with interest rates. We're going to get to that as well. There's a lot that goes into data and it's really confusing most of the time. So if you're having trouble deciphering what all of this data that's thrown at you means and how you can make it practical and apply it to your home search, well then we're gonna get after it right now. Welcome back. One of the first things you're gonna notice is Jeff is wearing the same thing he was wearing last month. He wears this every single day.
I'm Steve Jobs. I'm the Steve Jobs of real estate.
It's not the same gray vest. It's gray vest in his closet.
I got 20 gray vests.
But he doesn't wear it every day. But listen, you didn't come here for gray vest stains. You came here for market information, and that's what we're gonna give you. As I mentioned before, the real estate is hyper local, so you can't just look at national news and make real estate decisions, because every single market is different. And even when it gets to Atlanta, like every suburb, the city, every area is very different as well. And so the real estate guys,
That's
real
us,
estate
yes.
guys, yeah. We want to help you kind of decipher like what all that means based on where you're looking. And so without further ado, I want to dive right in. The easiest one, or the one that's probably most obvious to start with, is probably pricing. Prices are up.
Yeah, prices are up.
Is completely normal. So I don't want you to think that we've returned to the insanity of the post-COVID boom just because prices are up. Every single year from February to March, prices go up. Just like every single winter, prices go down. And so you can't just look at it on the surface, and that's why we don't always agree. By the way, actually, we don't agree on much.
A lot.
So we're gonna argue about it, and hopefully that'll give you some insight. So from a pricing perspective, last month when we looked at this, Greater Atlanta was at $387.
I have my little sheet.
All right, you can cheat too.
I'm gonna cheat on my sheet.
And then in March, that was up
sheet.
to $398. So from $387 to $398. And then when you look at Alpharetta, because remember, hyper local, Alpharetta, last month in February, it was at $555, and it is now at $645. Holy mackerel, Jeff, the prices went up 100 grand in 1 month.
Right. Because they should have.
Or did they?
Here's the deal. It's not that there was a box that sold for $562 last month that somebody then immediately put on the market and sold it for $100,000 more. So stuff from the previous winter goes away. People who tend to list early in the market don't tend to be the best listings. Those start showing up in late February and March. So yes, prices are still going up in Alpharetta, but we need to remember that the houses that are going on the market generally tend to be a little bigger, a little better, and a little more prepared to go on market, which means they go on the market for more and they sell them.
So if I could translate that for you, the ugly homes that no one wanted that sat all winter got sold at a low price, and all of the good stuff was being held for the spring because those people know that they have a valuable asset. And so,
well, they know if they have a good realtor to tell them they have a valuable asset.
That's true. So it wasn't that the identical home went from $550 to $650 or whatever. It was that the stuff that nobody wanted was hanging on the market. We kind of worked through that.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yes, kind of.
He said it better.
Wow.
I like it. That he said it better.
It's just
Hold on. I'm gonna go get another beer. I'll see you guys in a minute.
In Jeff's defense, he's a better realtor. I'm a little bit dumber, so I like to dumb it down for the audience.
Layman's
because
terms.
I want to know if I was watching. You're like, what did he just say? So in other words, all the good stuff came on the market, and so overall the prices went up because the quality of the inventory went up.
Increased.
Well,
right.
That's
for
what I was
instance,
getting.
we had a closing on Monday that we advised our client to not list in January. but list at the end of February because we wanted to get all the garbage out of the way first.
Right.
And we knew it would list for higher in February.
So prices are up, but the way to look at that is really the price per foot, I think, is a better indicator. And so in Atlanta from February was 186. It was up to 190, which is pretty much flat. In the reverse in Alpharetta, 242, 234. So the price per foot in Alpharetta actually came down by
a little bit.
a couple dollars a foot. So
prices are up though, square
flat,
footage is up on the bigger homes. That's what we were saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the square footage is up because the riprap got cleaned out.
So what he means by that is that a 2,000 square foot home is actually, because it's smaller. Can I call 2,000? If you're watching this and you're from New York City,
Right, where you're at 1,400 square feet.
It's a nice average
2,000
home
small here.
for really nice people.
It's small here.
Let me rephrase that. A 1,000 square foot home naturally costs more per foot.
Yeah.
Always
A
will.
5,000 square foot home costs less per
Yeah.
foot. But all of the smaller homes, so the ones that came onto market, in addition to being better, were probably also bigger. And so we're basically flat when it comes to price per foot from February to March.
Should we take a second and explain why that's the case?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so when you think in terms of 1,000 to 2,000 square foot house, you're often talking about a one-level home. It's a ranch. When you get up into 4, 5, 6,000 square feet, you're talking about multiple floors. The single most expensive part of your house is your foundation. The second most expensive part is the roof. So if I've only got one level of living, I've paid for the same foundation and roof that I would have if I had doubled my square feet by adding another floor.
Told you
That's
it was
why
a
it's
better
more
way.
expensive.
You want me doing videos and Jeff
Selling you the home.
helping you with your home search.
This is a good home means more from Jeff than Danny. You'll love this home. Listen to Jeff. Plus, there's just the fact of the law of large numbers, right? Where everything reverts to the mean. So the smaller homes revert to the mean. The larger homes revert to the mean, right? I mean,
That's right.
So if you're looking at the biggest home in the neighborhood,
It's always going to be less per square foot.
less per square foot, right? You
It
know,
still
it'll
might
get
be the
pulled
most
down to
expensive
the mean,
home,
right?
But it's going to be the least
It's got
per
to be
square
pulled
foot.
down,
Right.
Yep, to the mean.
One thing that hasn't changed, and maybe we can talk about just our listings and some of the buyers we've been working with, is the overall, I call it the tale of two houses. You still have the delusional sellers who think that
Correct.
their home is better than it is, and the house next door sold for, therefore mine should sell for. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, but your home is not renovated. It's smaller. It's, the lot's not, like, they don't care, right?
In 1985, once it's wallpaper.
Yeah. See, all of that makes a difference, but you still do. I think. Steve, please leave that in.
took me a minute to process that joke. Didn't hear it right away.
That was probably like Jeff's midlife crisis in 1985.
Bought my fourth home in 1985.
So you still have those sellers who haven't accepted that the market is shifting and changing, and
Yeah.
so the ones that aren't priced appropriately, or they're not in great condition, or they're not really up to par, they're still going to sit. They're going to have longer days on market. But the ones that are priced appropriately are really good location, in good condition, and all those things line up. I mean, if you haven't watched my video on the crazy home tour and coming for $575, there was cars everywhere,
Yeah.
line out of the door. I mean, even walking through the home, you can see there's people all over the place. So they were very clear on what terms they wanted. It sold immediately. We talked in the last video about the listing and coming. If it's nice, it's going.
If it's nice and priced right.
Priced
right?
correct.
Yeah, to the point where, and I get it, but as a buyer, you feel like, okay, I understand this pricing, right? I'm working with a buyer right now here in Alpharetta, for example, and they love the neighborhood, they love the location and all of that, but just because, what do we call Alpharetta? It's like Disneyland, right? I mean, just because it's a great home in Disneyland, near a park, near the public schools, highly rated public schools, all of that, home's $90,000 overpriced.
Doesn't matter. It's not going to sell.
Nobody's buying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying it. We're watching it too. We're,
18 months
we're
ago?
waiting for them to come back and take their sanity pill and figure out that it is not a market where people are just going to throw money at you and you can ask any price you want.
Well, but to your point, conversely, the other two closings we have this week, both of those buyers won. Both paid a little bit over list, but they beat out 3, 4, 5 other offers. So
It's
Denny's
competitive
right.
still,
Yeah,
right?
Denny's
It's
right.
still competitive, but
Yeah.
it's not outrageous.
They didn't have to beat 60 people.
Right. You're still gonna have to be aggressive.
Right.
You just
Yeah.
can't, you don't have to be 60 people to aggressive. Or 22 people. Well, I had 22 offers on the
Right.
last list there.
Yeah,
So
but-
maybe 60
But
people.
dude, you sandbagged that
30.
thing.
I did a little bit.
Days on market, Greater Atlanta went from 25 down to 18. Alpharetta went from 16 down to 7.
Seven.
So things are moving faster than they were last month, but that is also a cyclical thing that is in line with what happens every year, right? Again, if there's less quality on the market, there's less competition for it. People don't want it. And this month, there's more homes available, but it's also better homes and more
there's
buyers.
way more buyers.
Way more buyers. Everyone kind of took a breath over the holidays.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, time to get it done because summer's right around the corner and people want to move after school. And so this is really the peak spring selling
Time of year to be out,
prices
start
are gonna
getting out.
Yeah, prices are going to go up. Days on market are going to come down.
I would argue that our March buyers are the smartest buyers,
They are.
right? Because
They're getting good quality, but they're not having to be in a dogfight.
Yeah.
exactly.
The ones that wait till June, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
they're buying it the
It's a
hardest
cage
part of the
match.
year.
They literally just roll out like the cage in the front yard, and they're like, okay, there's 60 of you. Whoever comes out of the cage wins, right? I mean,
I
it
just want one of those
transforms.
like orange masks to put over with some
Exactly.
suspenders.
No, I want to
In a
get
cage.
people dressed up in the bubble suit with the big wand that looks like a
Roll
giant
down the hill
Q-tip.
at each other.
Bam, 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 bam.
Pugilistics.
Yeah, I want to do that. That is
I just
fun.
like to point out that he wants to be in a bubble suit and I want to be in a Speedo. So that's all.
Okay,
I'm
but
saying.
let's be
We're
honest.
gonna make that happen this June.
I
This June, we're making it happen.
I already look like I'm
Yeah.
in a bubble suit with a vest.
Month supply.
Gonna
Sure.
revert back to my paper here. 1.8 in Greater Atlanta, 1.5 here in Alpharetta.
Which was very close to what it was last month.
It's basically been flat since January. January, February, March. So that brings us back to what Jeff said though, right? It's just a change in the inventory more than it is the amount, right? The quantity hasn't changed, but the quality has shifted dramatically.
And by the way, if you don't remember or you've never been told what month supply is, it's just like if there were no new listings, how long would it take to sell out of homes?
To eat all the homes.
Yeah,
right.
until there'd be nothing left. Hutch, you always make a really good point about the 2 weeks, the 2 week factor.
Right, so the 2 week factor is, so if I say 1.5 in Alpharetta, 0.5 of that is just garbage that's never gonna sell.
Right.
It's overpriced or it's poor quality, or,
Or they're not
So
serious.
even if
they're
were-
not even serious.
So
Yeah,
if there
they
were
don't even
no-
really wanna sell it.
If there were no new listings, like those 2 weeks of supply would still sit there.
They're-
No one would ever
you
buy
can't
them.
give it away for
Right.
free in a Cracker Jack box, like you can't.
Well, I think that's the most of the like data points we always like to talk about. I think the one thing we haven't peeled yet though is one of the most important things we can talk about, and that is like the overall economy and specifically the interest rates. Now, I did a whole video on Fed and how their decisions impact mortgage rates. Like the Fed fund rate and mortgage interest rates are not the same. They move independently. The Fed rate has influence over it. And when you saw the Fed kind of raising rates, mortgages shot up further, faster. And then when the Fed is still continuing to raise slower, they've actually come down.
Right.
Mortgage rates have. So they don't move in lockstep, but they are very much correlated. What's going on with interest rates?
Yeah, the phenomenon you're talking about is called forward pricing. So what they anticipate rates going up, they go ahead and price it in before the rate increase comes. For instance, it's very likely that at the next meeting they're going to come up another quarter point. That quarter point bump was actually factored in 60 days ago.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is we're actually almost a full point below where we were in the last video.
That's good news.
It's exceptionally good news because that means your buying power just went up by 10%.
Listen, this is good news. However, when buying power goes up, prices
Go up.
go up. And I need you to understand that because it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like when interest rates go up, lower home price, you still have a higher payment.
Yeah.
So if interest rates start to move back down significantly over the rest of the year, which they're forecasting could see a half a point to 3/4 of a point of a reduction later in the year. So if mortgage rates continue to do that too, we could see more home price appreciation. Like there's no crystal ball. I don't know what the future holds, but for Meanwhile, everyone's sitting on the sidelines just saying, oh, well, eventually prices are gonna come down. Yeah, like maybe.
I mean, we work in this business, right? And we know that, so rates come down, there's a little bit of a lag, but then we see the price increases, right? I mean, in 2 weeks, the next set of homes comes to market, that inventory's digested in 1 weekend. What happens 2 weeks later when the next batch comes?
Oh, that's going up.
Prices go up, right? I mean, there is a little bit of a lag. If you are trying to time the market though, it's a 6, 7, 8 week period. And then those price increases have digested the rate decreases, right? Yeah. And it's back in balance again. But guess what? The home prices just keep going up because now you hit summer demand and everything. So timing's not really something I ever recommend. Not unless, I mean, are you buying your house today and selling it 2 months later? No, you're living there. You're gonna...
Here's what I tell people is, don't worry about trying to time the purchase. Think in terms of the interest rate. If you get the house today at the right price, the price is not going to change while you own it, but the interest rate will. You can always fix the interest rate when it goes down later. You don't have to wait until December hoping it's going to go down.
Yeah.
Lock it in today at that price and refinance in December. And a lot of lenders right now are anticipating this, and they will structure the deal so that you can refinance for little or very almost nothing in 6 months or a year when they come down. So there's not really a danger of I'm not going to get the good interest rate. The real danger is what Hutch is saying. The house that you really like, you might not be able to afford in 6 months if the price of that jumps by 10%.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a popular opinion, so that's my disclaimer. But
wait, Denny's going to disagree.
Jeff's actually leaning towards me now. All of a sudden, he's like leaning away.
Guess which side I'm going to be on.
Ultimately, I agree with you, but for maybe irrational reasons, I
black hat.
It makes
give the
sense
alternative
to me from a logical perspective. I always look at it from 2 alternatives. I bought a house almost a year ago in May. It was the height of the insanity. It was super competitive, and I knew going into it, eyes wide open, that I might be overpaying because I don't have a crystal ball either. I don't know if their prices are going to go up or down. But here's what I know. Just pick a number. Let's say your budget is $1 million. I knew.
Get you to sign a brokerage agreement real quick.
Could be $500,000 or $5 million. I don't care. I'm just picking a round number. Let's say your budget's $1 million. What's worse? You buy $1 million home and you wake up and the $1 million home is worth $800,000. Let's say you bought it at $1 million at 5%. You wake up and the rate is, you can refi at 4%. Right. And the price came down to 800. So if you refi, you're basically getting
balance
the lower,
starting to balance it out. Yeah.
Or the alternative is you don't buy and that rate goes to 4% and the $1 million home becomes 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And
which
now
is what happens when the rates go down.
And now you can't afford it. So for me, I was like, okay, this property, and for our family, we had looked for years for this exact setup. So whether you're relocating across the country or across town, like we had this vision of the house, the property, the location, everything, it became available, and I knew if I bought it, I could afford it, and later I can refinance if the rate gets better. But if that property went up 20 or 30 or 40%, I couldn't buy it.
Correct.
Right.
So.
And how much have homes appreciated in the last 2 years in Alpharetta?
Oh my God, it's gone crazy.
Almost 30%.
I always say it's not timing, T-I-M-I-N-G, timing the market, it's time in the market. We're gonna be there for 20 years. We're gonna raise all of our kids. We'll leave when they're grown and gone, but that was what made sense for me. And so what makes sense for me doesn't necessarily make sense for you. That's why we do this. It's like, give us a call, shoot us a text, schedule a Zoom, send an email, whatever you need to do. We wanna help you digest all of this and apply it to your situation so that we can help you make an informed decision for yourself and for your family. And that's why we do these videos. That's why we do what we do. And that's why we love it. And so I always encourage you to reach out. Listen, if all you ever do is watch the videos, great. You know, you could at least subscribe and give us a thumbs up or something.
That would be helpful.
That'd be great.
Even if he wears the same vest every time.
Dude, I was just gonna ask if you like my vest.
Don't let that put you off.
The
Subscribe
vest is the
anyway.
same so that they know they're on the right channel. This is invested in real estate.
Well, this is the Living in Atlanta, Georgia team. We are the real estate guys. Hopefully you found value in that. Like I said, whether it's next week, next year, or any time in between, call, text, email, schedule a Zoom. Happy to help you make a move. And until we see you in person, we'll see you on the next episode.
Brilliant.